Maybe it's just hard to think originally and come up with a fresh thought that the person who's offering the idea hadn't already previously thought up yet. Because I think somehow we're in a society that is hell bent on the answer, the right answer. Because when it's the right answer, it's the right answer. And when it's the wrong answer, it's not the right answer. Consider the following example. You have a spelling bee. It's contrived, but it makes a point. So imagine you have the spelling bee and you have to spell the word cat. So one student spells it C-A-T. Well, that student got the right answer. The second student spells it K-A-T. That's wrong. You got that wrong. The third student spells it X-Q-W. You realize that that is marked equally as wrong as the student that spelled it K-A-T, when in fact you can argue that K-A-T is a better spelling for cat than C-A-T. Dictionaries know this. That's how they spell it, phonetically. So we built a system for ourselves where there is an answer and everything else is not the answer, even when some answers are better than others. So our brains are absent the wiring capable of coming up with an original thought, or a thought not previously considered, or a thought in between the ideas that are already on the table. What we're not valuing is knowledge as a process rather than knowledge as an answer. In another example, a little contrived, but it brings the point home maybe a little more strongly. If you are an employer and you have two candidates that come to you looking for a job, this is again a contrived example. So you're an employer and the two candidates come up and you're interviewing the two candidates and you say, for this part of the interview, I'm going to ask you what the height of the spire is on this building that we're in. The first candidate says, I'm an architect. I majored in architecture. I studied it for a bit, and I remember all the heights of the buildings on this campus. I know that spire is 150 feet tall. In fact, 155 feet tall. Turns out that's the right answer. So that person leaves, and in comes the other candidate. What's the height of the spire on this building that we're in? The candidate says, I don't know, but I'll be right back. So that person runs outside, measures the length of the shadow that the spire created with the sun, and measures the length of her own shadow on the ground, and ratios the two shadows, and comes up with a number, and runs back inside and says, it's about 150 feet. Who are you going to hire? I'm going to hire the person that figured it out. Even though it took that person longer, even though their answer isn't as precise, I'm going to hire that person because that person knows how to use the mind in a way not previously engaged. You realize when you know how to think, it empowers you far beyond those who know what to think.